Hello and a very warm welcome to Lesson 1 of IELTS Essay Clinic. So this is the replay of Lesson 1. So if you have missed live version of Lesson 1, don't worry, we're giving you this replay, but there's two things that I want to be important. Number one, this is a replay, but we will be deleting each replay in a few days. Creating that deadline will encourage people to actually do the work. And you do, so that's why we're doing that. So make sure that you watch this in the next few days before it is deleted. Number two, this is not the live version, so you can't interact with us, you can't ask us questions, but you can send us some emails. If you have any questions or you need any help, just send us an email, reply to any of the emails that we have sent you. Chris at IELTS Advantage is my email address. We're more than happy to help you out if you have any questions. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're going to do this week. So in Lesson 1 today, we're going to focus on introductions. So we're going to start off with the first part of your essay and show you how to do that. Then we're going to give you a homework task at the end of this lesson, and you will get feedback on that homework task. On Wednesday, so tomorrow at 11 a.m., you can join me live where we will have Lesson 2, and in that lesson we'll be looking at main body paragraphs. Again, we'll give you a feedback and homework task. And then finally on Thursday at 11 a.m. you can join me live and we will give you a lesson on how to finish your essay and write those conclusions. And again, we'll give you a homework task and feedback. And then at the end of the week on Friday, we'll show you how you can take your IELTS preparation to the next level. We'll give you some information about a few places that are available on our VIP course, and we'll give you a special offer and all those good things. But before that, let's focus on today's lesson. So in today's lesson, we're going to look at double or direct questions. We're going to look at what an essay actually is. We're going to look at what an introduction actually is. What are the essential elements of an introduction? And then we'll give you that homework task. So by the end of this lesson, you will have fully understood what an essay is, what an introduction is, and how to write a very, very effective introduction. Okay, so there are 5 different types of IELTS Task 2 question. There are opinion questions, there are discussion questions, there are causes and problems and solutions questions, there are advantages and disadvantages questions, and then there are double questions. This week in this IELTS Essay Clinic course, we will be focusing just on double questions. The reason why we are focusing on double questions is we don't have time to discuss all of the different types of questions because we simply just don't have time to do that in 3 lessons. And double questions are really interesting because they are very applicable to the other types of essay questions, but we will really be focusing on these double questions. So the stuff that we're going to learn is applicable to these questions, but may not be applicable to the other types of questions. So just bear that in mind while we are going through this. So what are double and direct questions? They are normally 2 questions in one task. So you'll be given one task, and in that task, there will be 2 separate questions that you need to answer. And both will be direct questions. So every question on a Task 2 paper will start off with something like this. This will be the question statement. Many working people get little or no exercise either during the working day or in their free time and have health problems as a result. And then you will have 2 questions. So a double question will be 2 direct questions. Why do many working people not get enough exercise? What can be done about this problem? So in this question, there are actually 2 questions. Question statement and then 2 questions. And every double question follows this format. So what is an essay? So many students fail the writing test every single day because they simply don't understand what an essay is. Many students believe they think what an essay is and how to write a good essay, but most students that we work with simply do not understand what an essay is. And if you don't understand what an essay is, how are you ever going to write an effective essay? So before we look at what an essay actually is, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what an essay is not. For some reason, the little I here is tiny. What is an essay? Sorry about that. So the first thing that an essay is not, it is not a chance for you to show off how great your writing is. Students who try and show off, try and do fancy things, try and do complicated things, nearly always fail. It's also not a chance for you to show off how amazing your vocabulary and grammar are. That is a huge mistake that a lot of students make. They try and insert as much high-level fancy vocabulary and grammar into their essay, and that is completely misunderstanding what an essay actually is and what it is about. And it's also not a chance for you to insert lots of ideas about a topic. An essay is not a shopping list of as many ideas as you can think of about a given topic. What is an essay? So an essay is an attempt to establish objective truth about a given topic, also known as answer the question. So what a IELTS examiner is looking for is when they are looking at your essay, they ask you a question. And what you are trying to do is establish what is the truth about this question. What do I think about this question? And putting that on paper. It is also your reasoned argument about a given topic, also known as developing your ideas. So instead of putting in as many different ideas as possible, what an essay is a limited number of ideas, what you think about the question, what you think about the topic, and then you giving your reasoned arguments, developing those limited number of ideas. An essay writing is a skill. Unlike any skill, if you want to improve that skill, you need a coach who knows what to do, and then you need to put those skills into practice, and you need feedback. And that is what we're going to do in this course. We're going to show you what works, help you practice what works, and then give you feedback on whether you're doing that correct or not. Most of you have little or no experience with this skill. Like any skill, it can be learned and improved. Most of you, if you're watching this video, and this is not me criticizing you, it's just a fact. It's just, I don't have a lot of other skills other than teaching IELTS, and not everyone is amazing at every single skill in the world. But if you're watching this video, you probably have very little or no experience actually writing effective essays in English. But the good news is like anything, you can learn how to improve this skill. So we talked about reasoned arguments. What is a reasoned argument? Well, imagine you are in a supermarket during the coronavirus crisis. And remember, during the coronavirus crisis, a lot of people were buying lots of toilet roll. So it was like that here in the UK and in many other countries in the world. People started panic buying toilet roll because they thought that it was going to run out. It was a very strange thing to buy. So I want you to imagine you're in that supermarket and everyone is buying like 60 rolls of toilet roll. And you say to someone, why are you doing that? And they reply, I need to buy lots of toilet roll. Is that a reasoned argument? Well, imagine you ask another person and they say, I need to buy lots of toilet roll because someone on Facebook said there was a shortage. Is that a reasoned argument? Or what if you ask the third person and they say, I need to buy lots of toilet roll because panic buying has caused a shortage. If this continues, there will be no toilet roll left. Therefore, I need to buy lots now. This is proved by the fact that my local supermarket has no toilet roll left. So which one is the most reasonable? Which one is the most reasoned argument? Well, this one, if we have a look here, this one is totally unreasonable because there's no reason whatsoever. They're not giving any explanation or example or any reasoning at all. They're just expecting you to accept their point of view. The second person gives a reason, but is the reason valid? Someone on Facebook said there was a shortage. Well, do you think that people on Facebook are like very reliable people? Probably not. So this is an unreasonable argument. This person is stating really just factual information and fully explaining why they're doing this and their reasoning. They're explaining it, it makes sense, and their example that they use makes sense as well. So these first two people, you're going to say, what you're doing is a little bit crazy. The next person, you go, okay, I might not agree with you, but I can't say that you're not reasonable. You are acting reasonably because you've explained yourself and given a reasoned argument. Your essays should look more like this and less like this. So what are the ingredients of a reasoned argument? Your viewpoint, so what you think about a question or about a topic. This is often referred to as the main idea that you have. Your reasoning, all right? Why do you think that? Why is that your viewpoint? Otherwise known as an explanation. And then evidence. So these are also known as examples. So you state, I think this, here's my reasoning, and here's evidence. If you give that to a person, they can never say that you're being unreasonable. They might disagree with you, they might have the exact opposite point to you, but they cannot say that you're being unreasonable. And the IELTS test is not a correct answer test. It is not like mathematics where there's one correct answer. You can give your viewpoint, and it doesn't matter if the examiner agrees with that or not. What they're looking for is really your reasoning and your evidence, because they're looking for a reasoned argument. What has this got to do with my English level? I hear you cry. So many people will look at this and think, well, why do they want this? This has nothing to do with my English level. This is not fair. This is like asking why you have to do exercise when testing your fitness levels. So if you want to test your fitness levels in a gym, you have to do exercises. If you want to test your English level, you have to be able to do these things, because these are just basic communication skills. The IELTS test is not an English test, really. It is a communications test. So if we have a look at the question again, what we need to do is we need to take both of these questions and provide a reasoned argument for each of the questions. There's no right or wrong answer. All you have to do is state, I think this, here's why I think that, and here's evidence to support why I think that. Exactly the same here. What can be done about this problem? Here's what I think can be done. Here's why I think this would be effective if we did this, and here's evidence to support that idea. So the structure we're going to use for our essay is number 1, our introduction, number 2, our main body paragraph, and that will answer our first question. Number 3, our second main body paragraph, answering the second question. And then number 4, our conclusion, a basic 4-paragraph structure. It does not need to be any more complicated than that. So for double questions, introduction, answer your first question, answer your second question, and then answer your conclusion. What we're going to do in the rest of this IELTS Essay Clinic course, we're going to look in detail at how do you write this, how do you write those, and how do you write one of those. So don't worry if you don't understand how to write these yet. We'll show you exactly, step by step, how to do these. So let's think a little bit about structure. What does a structure allow you to do? So the introduction, here's what I'm going to argue. This is what my argument is going to do. Main body paragraph 1, here is my first reasoned argument. Main body paragraph 2, here is my second reasoned argument. Conclusion, here is my point of view and a summary of my argument. So this is a new way of thinking about your essay, and a completely different way of thinking about your essay. Not Let's put in as many memorized things as possible in our introduction, and then let's list lots of ideas, and then let's memorize something else and put that in our conclusion. If you do that, you're going to fail. But students who follow this way of doing it score dramatically higher than those that don't, because you are basically giving the examiners exactly what they're looking for, which is a reasoned argument and a very logical way to write out an essay. What does an unreasonable argument look like? Here's some background information. So often very poor introductions will start off with, in modern life, such and such is a very hot topic, and I will discuss both views before coming to a reason. You're not saying anything. You're just talking nonsense. Main body paragraph 1. Here's some points without any reasoning or evidence. Here's some more points. And conclusion, here's something completely new, unrelated to anything above. This is what most IELTS essays look like. The average score worldwide, according to data, official data from IELTS.org, is 5.5, extremely low for writing. Why? Because students are following this type of structure and this type of reasoning. So what is an introduction? We're going to introduce the argument you are going to make. So what an introduction is basically just communicating with the reader, communicating with the examiner and saying, here's the argument that I'm going to make. Make it easy for the reader to understand what the topic is and what your viewpoint is. That is what you should be doing in your introduction. The reasoning, the detail, then comes in the main body after the introduction. It is simply to help the reader. The introduction is simply to help the reader and make it easy for them to understand what is coming next. That is all your essay is doing, helping the reader, not helping you get a good score. Most students focus on getting a good score, but while they are doing that, they are not really focusing on the main reason why you write something. You write something to help the reader understand what is in your head. So make it easy for the reader. Help the reader. Help the reader. So a lot of students get it backwards. They focus on getting a good score when really what they should be doing is helping the reader, and as a result of that, you will get a good score. So when writing, your job is to simply help the reader. This will result in you getting a good score. If you want to have a successful business, your job is to help your customers. If you do that, you will make money. What happens if you try and make money without helping your customers? You won't make money. So it's similar to the big mistake that a lot of businesses make. A lot of business people fail. More than 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 years because they focus on making money first and helping their customers second. The most successful businesses in the world do it the other way around. They try and help their customers first, and then they make money after that as a result of that. Exactly the same when writing your essay. Focus on making it clear, easy to understand, and help the reader, and then you will get a good score as a result of that. So there are a few different introduction stages or elements that we need to be aware of. Question analysis, idea generation, paraphrasing, and outlining. These are the different stages of writing your introduction. First, analyzing the question, because if you don't analyze the question, you won't understand the question. If you don't understand the question, how will you be able to write an effective introduction? Next comes idea generation. So you're going to include your ideas in your introduction. So without thinking and generating effective ideas, you won't be able to write your introduction. Then paraphrasing, and then outlining. Let's look at each of these four things in detail so that you can put them all together and write your effective introduction. So one of the things that we hear a lot from students is, I know nothing. This is just something you're telling yourself to give yourself an excuse for failure. So often we will go through everything step by step with students and give them everything that they need, and they'll say, but I know nothing about this topic. I know nothing about these questions. You're only telling yourself that so when you fail, you can then say, well, it's not my fault. It's because the topics are too difficult or the questions are too difficult. If you believe this, you will fail. You are more than capable of doing this. It is not hard. You're just telling yourself that you can't do it. The examiners are not expecting expert content. They just want to know if you can communicate in English. You don't need to be a Harvard professor in order to get a band 9 on the IELTS test, because they're not testing your knowledge. They're testing your ability to communicate clearly in English. So don't worry if you don't know much about these topics, because they're not testing topic knowledge. So the first thing is question analysis. This is what we need to focus on first. So when we're thinking about the question, the first thing we're going to look at is, what is the general topic? Then what are the specific keywords? And then what are the instruction words? These are the three things that you should be thinking about when you look at a question. So if we had a look at this question, many working people get little or no exercise either during the working day or in their free time and have health problems as a result. Why do many working people not get enough exercise? What can be done about this problem? So if we follow this three-step system, what is the general topic? The general topic is health and exercise. Are we going to write everything we know about health and exercise? No. So we first need to understand the general topic so that we avoid writing generally about the topic, because that is a big mistake, because your job is to answer these specific questions, not write about the general topic. So in order to do that, we need to look at the specific keywords. So many working people, so this is not about school children, it is not about people who stay at home and don't work, it is not about old people who are retired, it is about working people. And it is about them getting little or no exercise either during the working day or in their free time. And the problem that this causes is they have health problems. So working people don't exercise, have health problems. That is the specific thing that we need to talk about. And then the instruction words are these two things here. We need to say why many people who work don't get enough exercise. So we need to specifically answer that question. And then we need to answer this question. What can be done about this specific thing? So what can be done about working people getting little or no exercise and having health problems as a result? So as you can see, if you follow this three-step process, you're going to fully understand the question. If you understand the question, then you'll be able to move on to the next step, which is idea generation. So the first thing you need to know about idea generation is keep it simple. The number one mistake that we see when it comes to idea generation, well, there are really two major mistakes. But the first one is trying to really overcomplicate everything, trying to think of high-level ideas or impressive ideas. So those don't work because there's no such thing as a high-level idea on the IELTS test. The examiners don't even think about them. And the second reason is, if you think of complicated ideas, they're going to be difficult to write about and difficult to understand. The examiner will not know what you are writing about. The simplest, most straightforward answer is normally the best, because they're easy to think about and easy to write about and easy to understand. If you were arguing with someone, what would your main point be? So imagine you're having an argument with someone about this topic, about this specific thing, and they think the exact opposite to you, and they're telling you that you're wrong. What would your main idea be? What would your main point be? That is going to be an extremely simple, straightforward, strong idea. And we also need to think about the second most frustrating problem when it comes to idea generation, which is students using brainstorming. And this is not your fault, guys. This is teachers teaching you this. It doesn't work. Brainstorming is a complete waste of time. Why? Because it's designed to take time. It is designed to free your mind in order to think of just as many different ideas as possible. That takes a lot of time, and you don't have time to do that. Most of your ideas are not going to be specific. Again, Brainstorming was designed not for task 2, it was designed to enable people to think of as many different irrelevant ideas as possible. And most of your ideas, therefore, will not be relevant. So you need to avoid brainstorming because you will waste a lot of time and produce irrelevant ideas. So you'll do the two things that you should never do on the test: waste time and produce irrelevant ideas. Instead, what we can do is use something we call the argument method. If you were making an argument, what would be your main point? Do not try and think of as many ideas as possible. Just one. If you were making a strong argument, what would your main point be? If you can't think of something, put yourself in someone else's shoes. So often I'll work with people and they'll say, I don't know anything about this topic. I've never experienced this. So for this question, they might say, I'm not a working person, or I don't exercise, or I don't have health problems. That doesn't matter. You do know that there are people in the world that work. You do know that there are some of those people who don't exercise, and you do know that there are some health problems that come through not exercising. You don't need to be a doctor to understand that. So if you can't think of something from your own point of view, put yourself in someone else's shoes and think about it from their perspective. So a good idea is easy to understand. They should know exactly what your main point is without any further explanation. Relevant and reasonable. You can use reason to prove your argument. You can explain it and you can support it with evidence. So what I want you to do now is... When would you bless me, Lord, please let me know. I got a hello.
Hello, baby. Hello. You're just playing my recording now. What is that?
You put off your listening now. You are the one that's supposed to put off your call so somebody can call you.
All right.
You are network also that calls will not enter now. But I don't know you're doing anything. You can send that thing to me again now.
What is that?
That call one that is to send yesterday that you did yesterday. You recorded yesterday. To my mail, and the one you need to forward to my mail. But you did a Jara.
Jara, okay. I'll send it now. I'll send it.
Okay.
Think about if you were making an argument as to why do many working people not get enough exercise. Try and think of a simple, straightforward, obvious, reasonable idea and put it in there. And often it will be the first idea that pops into your head. Or if you asked 100 people this question, what would be the most common answer? That's normally the most reasonable idea as well. Okay, so now we've understood the question, we've generated our ideas. Now we're ready to write our introduction. So before we start looking at what to include in our introduction, we need to think about what not to include in our introduction. So a lot of the way that we teach at IELTS Advantage is not just teaching you what to do, but what not to do. And to be honest, most students don't.
You know what?
structures and things like that, you're not going to be focused on actually writing a clear introduction, and you are increasing the chances of you making lots of mistakes. So you're actually lowering your grammar and vocabulary score instead of improving it. It's also not a chance to hook the reader. A lot of teachers teach students that they need to entertain the examiner, they need to hook the examiner. Believe me, I've worked with hundreds of examiners, and the only reason why they are reading your essay is because they are being paid to read your essay. They don't need to be hooked. The salary hooks them. Your introduction certainly does not hook them. A chance for you to use memorized phrases, background sentences, proverbs, or quotes. You should avoid anything memorized. You should avoid general background sentences because they don't actually help you answer the question or write an introduction. They're just filler. Same with proverbs, quotes. The examiners are trained to spot these things. And if they spot them, what the examiner sees is that you do not know how to write an introduction. Because if you did know how to write an introduction, you would never include these memorized things. Because if you know what to do, you're going to actually just do it. You're not going to copy something that someone teaching you who doesn't really know what they're doing taught you to do. So there are three elements to a double question introduction. Number one, paraphrase the question statement. Number two, outline your view on first question. And number three, outline your view on the second question. So not three sentences, three elements. So you're going to take the question statement, you're going to paraphrase it, then you're going to outline your view on the first question, and then outline your view on the second question. So paraphrasing, let's take the first element. State the same ideas, but using different words. So how would you say it in your own words? So that's basically what paraphrasing is. The new sentence should mean the same thing as the question statement, but you should use different words. We do this by using synonyms, and we can do this by changing the structure of the sentence, or both. We're going to show you how you can do both. But the two principal ways that we do this are using synonyms or changing the structure around. So let's have a look at some common errors when it comes to paraphrasing. Again, showing you what not to do is as important as showing you what to do. Changing every single word. So you don't need to change every single word in order. A lot of students will look at a question statement and then look at the first word, try and change that one. Then the second word, try and change that one. And the third word, try and change that one. That is extremely difficult, and it doesn't lead to very good paraphrasing. Changing words incorrectly. So often students will guess what a synonym will be, or they try and, I don't really know this for sure, but I think it's kind of like that, so they change it, and that leads to a mistake. You should only change a word to something you know means the same thing and is correct. And then also not thinking about grammar. When you change the words, you change the relationships between the words, and grammar is also always about the relationships between the words, so you need to be aware of that. So synonyms. Be very, very careful here. Your synonyms must match and make sense. Just because they are synonyms does not mean you can automatically use them. So for example, let's say you are trying to change this rich country. So rich and decadent are synonyms. Country and kingdom are synonyms. But you can't change rich country to decadent kingdom. They don't really mean the same thing. So synonyms can kind of mean the same thing, but are not automatically going to mean the same thing. Rich and wealthy are very close synonyms. They mean exactly the same thing. Country and nation mean exactly the same thing. So we can change rich country to wealthy nation. So it's all about whether you know the meaning of the word. Do you know the meaning of the word decadent? Do you know the meaning of the word wealthy? You probably know the meaning of the word wealthy, but you probably don't know exactly the meaning of the word decadent. It doesn't really mean rich. It is a synonym of that word, but it doesn't mean that. So So if we were to go in and have a look at all of the synonyms of wealthy, affluent, independent, moneyed, prosperous, booming, loaded, opulent, some of these are appropriate to use, but most of them are not. And it's really about meaning. Do you know the meaning of opulent? Do you know the meaning of prosperous? Does it mean the same thing as wealthy? If you know the meaning, then, and it is the same as the word you're trying to change, then use it. But if you're unsure, don't use it. You can also change the structure. So be very careful that your new sentence makes sense grammatically. Many developed nations have opened their doors to refugees recently. So what we can do is we can change it around. Recently, refugees have been taken in by many developed nations. So we've kind of changed the structure around. Instead of recently refugees at the back, we've changed it around and put it in the front. But if we did it this way, and not really thinking about the grammar, then we're going to be making lots of grammar mistakes. So that's why we say always be aware of grammatical changes. So what we can do is we can put both of these together. So we can change some synonyms, we can change the structure. Let's have a look when we combine these two techniques. Many developed nations have opened their doors to refugees recently. In recent years, refugees have been taken in by many countries in the developed world. So there's two words that I've highlighted here. We'll talk about those in a second, but what we've done is we just changed the structure around a little bit. You don't have to do this. It's just a tool to use in your toolbox. And then we've changed some of the words to synonyms. So nations, countries, for example. But we have kept refugees the same. And I've kept this in here because one of the key mistakes that we see students making a lot is they think that they have to change every single word. If you have a choice between changing a word incorrectly and just keeping a word the same because you don't know how to change it, it's fine just to keep the word. You should try and change as much as possible, but sometimes it will be impossible because you won't be able to think of a correct way of changing this. And then we've also changed developed nations to developed world. So developed nations is one unit of language. It is two words, but it is a collocation. Developed nations. We've changed that from developed nations to developed world. That is demonstrating to the examiner that you understand this as a collocation. So what I'm going to do now is show you a few VIP student samples. So we have a VIP course where we work very closely with our students. So I've taken some samples from our students and shown you what they have done. So many working people get little or no exercise either during the working day or in their free time and have health problems as a result. One of our students changed this to, as a consequence of getting minimal exercise either while at work or when they are off, employed people suffer from health issues. So it means the same thing, but they have changed the wording. Some of the words, very few of them, they have not changed them, but the vast majority of words are different, but it means the same thing. Another student did this. Workers do not work out as much as they should, and this causes health complications. It means exactly the same thing, and they've changed the words. So after we have paraphrased, then we need to briefly answer each question. Why do many working people not get enough exercise? When we asked our VIP students this question, the most common answer was lack of time. What can be done about this problem? The most common answer we got from our VIP students was designated exercise periods. So what we're going to do is take these two ideas and we're going to outline these in our introduction. So putting it all together, this is their paraphrase and this is their outline. This is because of a lack of time. Answer question 1, and designated gym sessions could solve this problem. Answer question 2. Briefly answer question 1, briefly answer question 2, and that is your introduction. Obviously, they'll all be part of one paragraph, but I just wanted to separate it out to show you this is the paraphrase and this is the outline of both questions. So So to summarize what we've done in this lesson, we showed you how to analyze the question, we showed you how to generate ideas, we showed you how to paraphrase, briefly answer both questions, and then we put it all together. And importantly, we discussed what is an essay, what is an essay not, what is a reasoned argument that is really going to help you with your entire essay. Here's your homework task. Look at the question below and follow the steps outlined in this lesson and write just the introduction, not the whole essay. In modern times, young adults are spending less time with their families and more time with their friends. Why has this change occurred? Do you think parents should force their children to spend more time at home? So pause the video, have a look at that question, and follow the steps. So the steps that we gave you, analyze the question, generate ideas, paraphrase the question statement, and then outline your answers to both questions in your introduction. Here are some rules. Write out your task. No need to post it anywhere. So you're watching the replay, so you don't need to post it anywhere. Just write it out or type it out, whatever you want to do. Please do not demand that we look at your work. There's tens of thousands of people doing this course today. We don't have time to look at your individual work, and we're helping you for free, so please respect that. And feedback will be given at the start of lesson 2. So try and join us live for lesson 2, where we will give you feedback. Thank you very much for your precious time. I hope that you enjoyed lesson 1. Join me for lesson 2 tomorrow, 11 a.m. UK time, if you want to join me live. And if you have any questions, if anything was unclear, you need any help, send me an email and myself or one of my team will help you out. Thanks very much, and I really appreciate your time. And feel free to get in touch if you need anything.